Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Tiffany Hill Cook and I run a spiritual practice called the Healing Hill. And the intention behind my channel is to remind you that you are loved and love simply because it is true. Today's episode is about core values, and more specifically a practice that's called a core values sort. And a core value would be a guiding principle that is unique to you, and it is ultimately going to be at the root of your choices. And so why this is so important to me is because before I had my awakening, I had no idea what my personal core values were. I was so good at honoring you and adapting myself and abandoning myself to serve you, and you was mom as well as my job, that when it came to my needs and my motivations and my, what makes my heart happy, I had no idea. So, if you are interested in learning more about yourself, stay tuned. We'll see you soon. Alrighty, well, welcome. So today we're talking about an exercise that is called a value sort. And, or sometimes I've seen it as a core value sort. And I do this annually now, but I first was introduced to this practice in the summer of 2020. And so we'll start with the story. So I started in 2017 seeing a counselor in a clinical type setting. I think over in Europe they might call it talk therapy. At any rate, what had prompted that interaction was there was a deep rooted pain in my heart. I had no idea on where it was coming from. I was blind to it. It was real, though. I also had a knowing, and this is to me the definition of like spirituality or connecting with your soul, is I had hope. I knew in my core that I didn't have to feel this way, and that there was a different way, there was a different choice that I could be making, even if I didn't see it. I had faith in that at the very little. So that started in 2017. Fast forward to the year 2020, and that was the year that the shackles that had been put on me as a child, that I continued to make sure were tightened on me as an adult, broke free. And there were two things that happened. The first was I started to love myself. There was a remembering of who I was, what my needs were, and an observation of how others were treating me. And it wasn't any new form of treatment. It was just the awareness around how others were treating me. Secondarily, and I know that this was planned before I incarnated, I had a spiritual awakening. Quite literally, God came knocking on my door. Yeshua was everywhere. And so I felt a love a lightness, a grace inside of me that I had no recollection of ever feeling, at least in this lifetime. So as I am, and I'm still in talk therapy in the summer of 2020. And so I quit my job, and subsequently I cut my mother out of my life. And those decisions happened within about a month of each other. And it wasn't only my mother. There were other immediate family members that I made a conscious decision to no longer have, aka invite, aka share my energy with, because it was too painful. And so as I am attempting to remember who I was a little bit lost. When I had a mother who was a narcissist, and I had a job that was a cult. It is no wonder that I found a company that mirrored the same level of control and power and narrative around Tiffany, never being enough, because it was the exact same narrative for my mother, but I was blind to it. And so with essentially my life being in shambles, even though it was self-solicited, I was rebuilding. The issue started though with, what am I rebuilding? What am I working towards? I needed to, I needed to date myself. I needed to find out who Tiffany was. And so the counselor that I was seeing at the time, she shared with me an exercise called a value sort. And I was very familiar with core values because the cult that I worked at, our core values as an office when I left was family, happiness, and perseverance. That was the messaging that I was being received and given. And also, I was a really good soldier, so I was also sharing that message. But let me tell you, words were not in alignment with actions. So I was familiar with core values, but I didn't know what mine were. So what I ended up doing was Googling core values, and you will find there are over 200 core values. And what I ended up doing is picking out 5 to 10 of them that aligned with me and trying them on and seeing, how does this feel? How does it feel to say, let's say one of the core values is caring. I am caring. Is it important for me to be caring? I might have been told by my mother that I needed to be a caring person, but does that mean that it's important for me? And so what I ended up doing was outlining 10 core values that served as my compass, my beacon of light. And I'm going to be even more specific. Before I go and do any type of experience, I ask myself from an intention perspective, does this activity, does this conversation, does this experience align with the core values that I personally have identified align with me? And so you may find yourself going, that doesn't actually. So I'm actually going to pass on this opportunity. And so what I implore you to do is, as a form of love and an expression of your love for yourself, is to do a core value sorts. And I would do it once a year. It doesn't take long, but why it's important to do it once a year is because you are either evolving or devolving, but I can guarantee you who you are today, who I am today, is not who I'm going to be even tomorrow, let alone in a year. So if I am measuring myself or, aligning myself to the past, which has already happened, it doesn't necessarily help me in the current state, in the now. So, what this will help you with, and it helped me with, was to find out who I am. And we are so complex and multidimensional that this is just one way to get to know yourself. And once you start to, because for myself, I was really good at being the people pleaser. But what I have found in life is that it is to be lived for you, not for anybody else. So you've got to figure out what helps and serves you. And then from there, you will attract those experiences that nourish you. And in the same sense, you can also nourish others. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to help people. It's like that I live for helping people. That is part of my purpose here. So, identify those, pick out 10 values that resonate with you on a soul level. Not that your parents picked, or your partner picks, or your boss picks, or that you pick because you don't want to be viewed a certain way by society. I was watching an episode, an old episode, I think it was from the year 2000, of Oprah Winfrey, the Oprah Show. And what she was talking about in particular was people pleasing and being, 20 things to 15 different people. And she was telling Stedman, her partner, it's just important for me to be nice. I want them to know that I'm nice. And he said, but you're not nice. You're not a nice person. And she said, what do you mean I'm not nice? I'm a nice person. And he said, no, you're not. And he started to describe people in their lives that are nice. And she said, you're right. I am not nice. I'm kind, which kindness, there's a moral obligation to kindness, but she goes, I am not nice. So she was attempting to align herself to something that actually at her core and in her soul isn't even important. And so, all right. So for myself, I actually just did this today. I re-upped mine. So I'm going to share with you, and by the way, I said to pick 10. It is really hard to just pick 10. So that's just a parameter. Like, go hog wild. Do what resonates for you. And I'm going to make this list larger. I'm going to put it somewhere so that I am reminded of what I am aligning myself to. So for myself, love is important. Authenticity is a very important core value for me. And I know for that one, and even for love, I didn't get a lot of it growing up. There were either conditions on the love, or for authenticity. I mean, when you've got a parent who's a narcissist, it's a minefield out there. And so those are my top two. Another one that is really important for me is power. And I used to be told that power was a bad thing, that it was, let's see here, how would it be described? It wasn't a gracious thing to align yourself to power. And how I view power is actually through empowerment. And it's important for the space or energy to be shared. And that's a sharing of power. That's really important for me in my relationships. Gratitude, I mean, my goodness, when you got gratitude, you don't need anything else. Grace is important. There have been many times in my life where grace has saved me from saying or doing something that I would have been regretful of after the fact. And so I am just really grateful for grace when it presents itself in my life. And I think about grace, like I just said, it's that moment when you're getting ready to say something and you go, ooh, better not. Like something washes over you and creates some space between your reactions and allows you to respond. That to me is grace. Patience is important. I identify as a 3 on the Enneagram, and I haven't done anything about the Enneagram yet in my videos, but my goodness, I could teach the Enneagram. I've probably spent 1,000 hours learning and reading and putting into practice the Enneagram. And so for me as a 3, everything's got to be now. Come on. I mean, 3s grease the wheels of society. If you want to get something done, you got to get a 3 involved. Well, there's also an important component for me, particularly when I'm counseling people, to practice patience. Because in moments where I'm not practicing patience, I'm missing the point. And it takes me away from being present, the gift of presence, and I'm already thinking about a response or thinking about how I don't want to be here. It's just not helpful for me. The next 2, and these are different, but they are somewhat in the same bucket, is empathy and compassion. Communication is really important to me. Because of the spiritual gifts that I have, and I am telepathic, I know what's going on underneath the hood. So you could be saying one thing, but I know at your heart and your core it's something different. So it's really important for you to honor yourself when you are in a relationship with me. That's my dog. And vice versa. You can expect the same from me. And I am still learning how to effectively communicate on a day-to-day basis, but that's the beauty of life. It presents opportunities for me to keep strengthening this value because it is so important to me. And the last one, it was a hard choice between the core value of fun, but I ended up picking playfulness. And the reason I did is, to me, fun is a byproduct of playfulness. I used to take life really fucking seriously. And here's the thing, nobody gets out alive. And so for me, it's important, regardless of what I'm doing, is to have an intention of playfulness. Specifically, I really like trying new things. And so it's important that why do you think babies, toddlers cry so much? Because everything they're doing is new. Think about the last time that you tried something new, or you started a new job. It's frustrating. If you can invite in, for myself, I'm talking from an I, if I can invite in playfulness, it actually brings more joy and presence to the experience. So that is what that's what I wanted to talk about today, was something called a value sort. And I implore you to do this for yourself. It took me less than 10 minutes. And now I've got something to reference as a reminder of what I am hanging my hat on. What am I aligning myself to, so that I can now have a reference point for the way in which I experience life. Does it align with these core values? Oh, this person is starting to gossip. Is gossip in alignment with love? No. So I'm going to have to stop that behavior and say, hey, I'm not quite sure where you're going with this conversation, but I actually don't have any capacity in my life for gossiping. And then we move forward. So thank you so much for joining me and sharing your energy with me. If you are seeking help with identifying your core values or implementing them into your life, book some one-on-one time with me. It'll be in the description below. I've got a variety of services and options that you can choose from. And I also offer a free consultation where we can spend 30 minutes together just to see if the energy is there before making some sort of commitment. My phone number as well as email is on my website. So thank you so much. Signing off for now.